Hi class, I'm not sure what happened to part 2 of this video, so I'm having to recreate it and re-upload it again. But let me just talk over with you guys the second half of these notes with lesson 10.5 and the counting principle. So counting principle tells us that when there are m ways to do one thing and n ways to do another and so on and so forth, so you can create as many variables as you want, then you can use the operation of multiplication to find out the total number of ways of doing all combinations of events. So consider the first problem right here, where we're dealing with 6 different flavors of ice cream and 3 different cones, and we're looking for all the possible combinations to get an ice cream cone. So you would just take your 6 flavors, multiply it with 3 cones, and then you get 18 possible outcomes. Now, if you look at the next situation down below, this is a little different. This is more of a permutation example. The teacher has 3 awards to give out to 10 finalists during the science fair. How many different ways can the teacher hand out the awards? Well, for the first award, the teacher has 10 students to hand it out to, and then after the teacher gives out the first award, then there are 9 students left over to give it to, and then with the last award, there are 8 students left over. So we can use the multiplication principle or the counting principle again to find out the total number of possible outcomes. So 10 times 9 times 8, which works out to 720 possible outcomes. So another topic in this lesson that is important to know is something called factorials. This is dealing with the product of all positive integers less than or equal to a number. So sometimes in math you may see this exclamation point symbol by a number. Anytime that you see that, you would read it as follows. So 4 with an exclamation point would be read as 4 factorial. Now the way how you would calculate any factorial out, you would start with the number given and then multiply all the way down to the whole number 1. So for 4 factorial, that's what the work would look like, 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, and that gives you an answer of 24. And so I've worked out some examples for you down below, just demonstrating different types of factorial amounts for you. So 2 factorial, that's pretty simple since it's a small value. But then as you can see, as you increase the size of your number, the factorial obviously is going to get larger because of the number of whole numbers that you're having to multiply together. To work out a factorial on a calculator, it's actually pretty easy to do. Depending on the type of calculator you have, sometimes the functions are built into different parts of it, but if you're using a multi-view calculator, if you go into the probability mode, the PRB button, and you go to the third option down, you have your factorial symbol. So let me demonstrate for you how that would work out with one of our examples down below, with 9 factorial. So if I was to plug it into my calculator, I hit 9, hit my probability button, choose my factorial option, hit enter again, and I see that I get the exact same answer like I did up above. Last thing I want to go over with you guys in this lesson is permutation notation. So sometimes when you're dealing with an arrangement of objects, we could do something called partial factorials, meaning that we don't have to take the factorial down all the way to the number 1. So a good example of that would be like placement in a race or giving out awards to just a select group of people out of a total population. So permutation notation looks like this. You'll see this symbol that says NPR. So anytime you see that, we're calculating a permutation, and N stands for the number of objects, the total number of objects, and then R represents the number of objects that will be used or chosen. So this example down below deals with a teacher giving out awards, 3 awards to 10 finalists at a science fair, and we're trying to figure out how many different ways the teacher can hand out the awards. So here's the math on how you go about calculating a permutation. So we've got 10 finalists, 3 awards. So my N value is 10, that's my total number of people. My R value is my different total number of ways to hand out my awards. So 10p3 is going to equal the following. So the first number is where we're going to start our factorial. So we started at 10, and then the 3 indicates how many factors we're going to use for our factorial. So 10 times 9 times 8. So we would only use the first 3 factors of this arrangement. So when I work this out, that gives me 720 ways. Let me show you using a scientific calculator how you would calculate your permutation. So let's take the last example down below here, 400p2. So I would hit 400, my PRB button, and PR, then 2, and hit enter, and then I get my final answer right there. And again, depending on what calculator you're using, the format may be different in the way how you type things in. If you have any questions, let me know. I know I kind of sped through this quickly, but if you need me to slow down a little bit more or if you need some individual help, please let me know.